Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Mosaic with TJ Randolph. I'm TJ Randolph, and thank you for joining me tonight. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me okay, because sometimes I already start at the gate struggle streaming. So please put a one in the chat if you can hear me. And while I'm waiting on that, I want to shout out to the moderator extraordinaire, RM. She is always on top of the game, and I truly, truly, truly appreciate you. I want to give the announcements. Shout out to my hard-working trucker man, Mr. Randolph, who's traveling these highways, and to all the truckers that are on these highways and byways, bringing us our much-needed goods and doing their part to keep this supply chain moving. Shout out to Chef Shapino in the house. Shout out to my firstborn nephew, Ryan Spunk Adams. I have a secret to tell y'all. Okay, look. Y'all know my mom is graduating. She's getting her bachelor's degree this Saturday. Well, my nephew is not able to go to the graduation. So he's on his way flying there tonight to surprise her because she thinks he's not going to be able to come. Now, he can't go to the graduation, but he's going to surprise his grandmother to spend a few days with her before the graduation. So I'm really excited about that. So shout out to my firstborn nephew, Ryan Spunk Adams, who is on the horn. You can follow him on Instagram under I Am Spunk. You can find his music on Spotify and Apple Music under Spunk Adams. I shout out to Mickey Red Creates, who is my digital branding and marketing coordinator, and I greatly appreciate her for all of her help. Yes, I'm so proud of my mom. I'm so proud of my mom. And also, I have a second channel, my music channel, TJ's Music Vault, that's in the description. And I shout out my mom for the gift of music. And as a matter of fact, I'm packing up my stuff when I go see her because I want to do some live shows with my mom talking about music. So that's what I'm going to do. So shout out to Truth is Never Favored is in the house. So, and here's the thing about this surprise for my mom. This is really a serious thing because anybody that knows me, my family and close friends, they know I have a hard time keeping secrets. So, so the fact that I've been able to keep this a secret, so my mom to be surprised is really good. Okay. So yeah, I know. Okay. Listen, tonight, I wasn't going to do a show at first, but I think I decided to do so because I think it's very important. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think what I'm going to do early on, I'm going to put the link in pretty early. Because in as much as I'm going to talk, and I'm actually going to show some clips, I'd be interested if anybody has any experience or any feedback. As I've shared with you, let's see. So as I've shared with you, May, it'll be later this month, but May is the month I started my YouTube channel. And if I can go back and look at my calendar, I think specifically May 8th of last year, I contemplated ending my life by walking out into traffic. And the reason I contemplated that is because of my struggles with mental illness. My struggles that was diagnosed in 2007 as major depressive disorder and anxiety, but had been successfully managed when I got out of the military in 2007 up until that situation with that person, that relationship that ended violently. That from that point, I just could not seem to get back to where I was prior to that. So with mental illness, depending on the severity of it, and in my case requires medication and as well as some, therapy, and depending on the ebb and flow of life will determine whether or not, how often I need to go to therapy and or if my medication needs adjusting. But it is something that, just like people who have diabetes, you learn to manage it. I remember when I first was, before I was officially diagnosed, if you will, there was bouts of depression that I would go through with, when I was divorcing my husband, or, different things. And I thought that, I just needed it for that time period. And once I got through that time period, I didn't need it anymore. So I didn't take the medication. But as it got to 2007, I needed to take it more. I was having more and more episodes, if you will. And so finally, after some, testing and other further conversations, and again, like I said, tests, it was determined that I would undoubtedly need to take some form of medication for the rest of my life because of a chemical imbalance. And also they ask, in part of the testing, they ask you different, about your family history. And as I dug into my family history, there were some family members who had varying degrees of mental health issues. So I was in denial about taking medication because I felt like, I feel better. I don't need to take it anymore. So I wouldn't. And then I would just, stop cold turkey, and I would spiral. But the situation that finally made me get a hold to the need that I needed to take medication no matter what was when I think my daughter may have been either a sophomore or junior in high school. And I was going through something really intense, but my behavior was so erratic. My behavior and my temperament was so erratic, and that my daughter didn't know which mother she was coming home to on any given day. To the point that she reached out to her godparents, and they basically did an intervention. And when I saw the fear in my daughter's face, I knew that I had to accept it. And so I said, for whatever, I didn't care, whatever. I was going to always take my medication because I never wanted my daughter to be fearful like that. So I've taken the medication faithfully since then. So, I forgot to tell you what I'm drinking tonight. I'm drinking some salted caramel Crown Royal, or Royal Crown, with some Pepsi. Why? Because it's a brown liquor type of night. I'm just saying. So, like I've said, over the years, there's, varying degrees of, therapy I needed to go to, or had to have my medication adjusted. But I've done pretty well, but I still have challenges. There's sometimes, and I know when I need to have my medication adjusted, because again, if I can't seem to, my mood can't seem to regulate, even when I'm with medication, I know that something needs to happen. So, when I started dating Mr. Randolph, again, we talk about, shout out to Mr. Logic, barefoot and naked. So what that meant was I shared with my husband everything that I was, like I said, my financial situation, my health situation, everything, because I wanted him to make an informed decision whether or not that was something he wanted to deal with. So, he told me, I don't understand. I've never knowingly dealt with someone that has mental health issues. I probably dated somebody that had mental health issues, but they never admitted it. He says, but I've never knowingly dealt with anyone that had mental health issues, but I want to learn, and I'm going to be here for you. And he has been. Ooh, hair in my mouth. So that's where we are. Dang, look at my mouth. So that's where we are. But even then, going back to a year ago, May 2021, I'm at a great place in my life. I had a career, in the federal government. a loving husband. We still can continue to have, all of our needs were met, wants met. My daughter was pregnant, healthy pregnancy. My granddaughter had just been born, but the heaviness, I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shake it. And it was at that moment, as I was walking on my walk, it was literally, I'm having a conversation in my head. How many of you have seen those cartoons when you have the angel on one side and the devil on the other side? It's literally like, as I'm walking, the traffic is coming toward me, a voice is saying, do it. And another one, don't do it, don't do it. I mean, literally, it's like that. And at that moment, I shared with you the song by Fred Hammond comes on, Don't Pass Me By. And that's when I started to sob, and I kind of snapped back into reality to gather myself and went home. And then when I went home, I was very emotional. And again, I know some of you have already heard this before, but I was very emotional. And I told my husband, I said, I was just sobbing. And I said that I get nervous sometimes that my mental health will be too much for you. I said, because sometimes it's too much for me. And he said, I'm not going anywhere. So here we are. The reason that I decided to do this particular show today is because May, again, it's coming on a year that I've done this, but I decided to start my channel in May for several reasons. Because May is the month that I consider taking my life, but it's also my birth month. And also May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So that is why, I was resolute and determined to start and launch my channel in May because of what I have been dealing with as it relates to my own mental health. And the reason I decided to do this show today is because, I don't know how many of you pay attention to country music, but the Judds is a country duet, mother and daughter duet. They came on the scene in the late 80s, mother and daughter. They had to break up in 91 because the mother was diagnosed with hepatitis C. So for 30 years, they hadn't been together. Wynonna Judd had continued her solo career. But earlier in April, the mom and daughter did a duet again after many years of not performing together at the Country Music Awards. Well, they were due to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame yesterday. And they were planning to go on a tour that was coming up in the year. Well, Naomi Judd passed away yesterday. And when the daughters wrote that they lost their mother to mental illness, I could be wrong, but I surmised that she ended her own life, even though that's not what they said. That is what I have surmised. And she passed away a day before her and her daughter were due to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And that got to me because the depths of hopelessness that one feels. And you struggle with it. like I struggle with it because seemingly from the outside, everything is great, but the mind, mental health is a disease of the mind. Just like with, Naomi Judd, she had hepatitis C, and these are her own words, that hepatitis is the disease of the liver. But a lot of times we don't acknowledge it, we don't pay attention to it because we think we can overcome it. But sometimes we can't. So before I share some of my videos with you, I'm gonna look at some comments. The Judds are, yes, yes. And here's the thing: I remember when they came out; those women are gorgeous. That was one of them. Like, they were so gorgeous and talented. Um, let's see here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I want to talk about it today because people are hurting. And that is why, thank you, Uncle Stu. Thank you, bro. And that is why I always, in all my descriptions, I always put the links to the Veteran Crisis Line, the Suicide Lifeline, the Mental Health Awareness Line. I do it. Tomorrow's your birthday, but I'm getting a present tomorrow. Okay, so let me I want to pull up this interview, this caption, and it's from this gentleman's his name is Melinde Henry, and I've put his information in the description, but I'm gonna share my screen because I want you to listen to this interview, and it's not very long. It's about 4 minutes with Naomi Judd, and I identify with her on so many different ways. And I could have just done a reaction, but I wanted to have some dialogue with you all. And I think while I'm doing, I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link. I want to go ahead and have some dialogue because it's real. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm out here in La La Land working. You can check me out on the Talk, which is on Friday, and Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel on Monday. We're having fun out here in Hollywood. Hi, everybody. I'm Naomi Judd, and my story in River of Time is now available in paperback. You can pre-order it now. Responsible for all those signature guitar licks on the Judds records. He did something that forever changed our lives. We'd never been in a studio. We're sitting there just scared out of our brains, a couple of hillbilly girls in a lot of trouble, actually. And he started us off with a prayer. Got all the musicians around us, and he said, I'll never forget it as long as I live. He said, Father, we ask that this be pleasing to your ears, and that you use this music to heal these two girls. And that this music go out into the world to help touch and heal other lives. And from then on, our lives changed. Hey, yo, what's up, guys? You are most welcome to my another video regarding the day of our beloved Naomi Judd. As you all know that this lady died Saturday morning at the age...
Hold on a minute. I started to... Okay, let me go back. Hold on a minute. Maybe I messed it up. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Okay, it was where it should be. My bad. My bad.
Changed.
Hey yo, what's up guys? You are most welcome to my another video regarding the day of our beloved Naomi Judd. As we all know that this lady died Saturday morning at the age of 76, and no cause of death was actually given, but her dear daughters came out and confirmed that her cause of death is believed to have been a disease which came from mental illness. Ashley Judd, who is the young daughter to Naomi Judd, posted on Twitter that today we, the sisters, experience tragedy. We lost our beloved mother to a disease of mental illness. We are shattered. We are navigating profound grief, and we know that as we loved her, she was loved by her public. We are in unknown territory. That was according to Ashley Judd. So just to hit on a few details of our dear beloved Naomi Judd. This lady was born on 11th of January.
Okay, this might not be the video I was talking about, but here's the thing. Let me go back to one of the things that resonates with me with first of all, they're gorgeous. One of the things that resonated with me with the Judds is that when she did her story is that she had her children, had her daughter, her first daughter, Wynonna, very young. And she said that they were very poor. And she said it was just her and her daughters against the world. That, you know, living paycheck to paycheck. She said she barely had a high school diploma. Um, and that they didn't have sometimes food to eat. I resonated with that because I remember my mom struggling with me and my sister, and, her telling us, growing up that we were to protect one another. And it was just the three of us, and what happened here is that she got her nursing license, I think, at the age of 29. And then by slipping a tape to one of her patients who had given it to her father, started the process of what will ultimately change their lives. You could see her prancing around on the stage, and they were just an amazing team. But then getting hepatitis C, she had to, at the top of her game, had to say goodbye to it. And by her own words, and you all can look it up, her own words, she said it broke her down because she loved getting on stage. She loved it. So when you have that, something that you love to do every day, you can't do it. You're sick. Then I think she talked about she lost her father. And so there went the spiral. There went the spiral. Hold on a minute. Let's see here. Let me see. 1 second. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay.
Before she divorced.
Okay, this is not the one I need. I'm sorry. I'm struggle streaming. Good heavens. So, what I will do, I will show you them being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
My mama loved you so much, and she appreciated your love for her. And I'm sorry that she couldn't hang on until today.
your esteem for her and your regard for her really penetrated her heart. It was your affection for her that did keep her going in these last years. And please come see Paul. Please do come see him. And while this is so much about the Judds as a duo, I want to take a moment to recognize my sister, Goat. You know what that means?
I didn't prepare anything tonight because I knew Mom would probably talk the most. I'm going to make this fast because my heart's broken. And I feel so blessed, and it's a very strange dynamic to be this broken and this blessed.
Okay, so here's the thing. One of the things that I paid attention to is that, like I said, they performed again at the Country Music Awards on the 11th of April. So I watched the performance and I was so excited to see them together. I didn't pay attention to certain things until I went back and looked at other videos and other performances of them together. Now, understandably, the other performances were, 30 plus years ago. So being in the 70s, probably she wasn't going to be able to, scoot around like she did with her dress. But what I could see this time that I hadn't saw before were her eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. And her eyes were sad. Her eyes were sad. In the midst of all the adoration of people in the stands, at the awards, yelling and screaming because they hadn't seen the Judds perform together in 30 years, the sadness, the battling in your mind. When people think, from the outside that you have so much going for you, so much to look forward to. Hey, Nephew Bolo. Hey, Brittany. Pound for pound. Ace Butterfly. Hello. That, hey, Simon, that you have so much. But you are literally battling the forces of good and evil, if you will, are battling for your very soul. I remember when I told my daughter that I had considered what I had thought about. She couldn't understand it either. She couldn't understand why, in the midst of having everything that I wanted, I would consider that. And the thing about it, I couldn't explain to her why. I couldn't. I couldn't explain to her why I literally thought about walking into traffic. There are so many of us who struggle with mental illness. Some diagnosed, some not. Some of the people who sang the most beautiful love songs that are classics in our society struggle with mental illness, and some succumb to it. Another one who I absolutely loved her music. Here's a brief interview with the legendary Phyllis Hyman.
Of artists and how they're picking up kids off the street pretty much, and producers are producing these records. These kids have little or no talent. They look right. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, little girl, get the hair weave on there and make her lose 30 pounds. You gotta get ready. Can't sing a lick. Can't sing a note.
How does that make you feel, though, Phyllis, as an artist? I mean, who's worked so hard for so many years, and you are an artist. I mean, you sing.
Can you say this on the air? Pisses me off.
I think you can.
It makes me big time
You
angry.
just said it.
It makes me big time angry because of the fact that I have spent so many years developing this talent and working very hard at it. And then I realize sometimes some parts of the industry, they're only interested in quick results, instant results. They get these artists, and these artists are thrown away afterwards. They think they're on the road to their big break. You hear from them this year, you don't hear from them anymore.
That's very
But
true.
they're being used and they're being discarded. Most of these girls here get a date every now and then. I don't get that. People don't ask me for a date. I met a guy today. I met a police officer. He was too cute. He really was cute. And so I had Leo, who works with me, I had him ask the guy, was he married? First question. I was hoping he wasn't gay. So the next thing is asked, are you married? So he asked him and he said no. And he said, I kind of see somebody. He said, but what would I say to her? He got all tongue-tied. I figured he didn't have a hard time speaking to me in the last 5 minutes we were talking. The minute I decided I want to date this man, he froze. He's got a pistol, billy club, and a badge. He got totally wiped out. He was like, what did I say? I thought, well, not much then. If you're going to freeze up like that, I don't think no. I was kind of, and that happens a lot. Can't move from one drug to another and expect better results. It's always going to do the same thing, kill your spirit and ruin your life. Most songwriters know the kind of music that I do, and we get a nice collection of things. And I just choose things by the way I feel. I like songs that have stories to them, that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I'm hard pressed to sing about "Baby, I Love You." Mm-hmm. Don't you love me too? Mm-hmm. You know I love you, baby. Come on, baby. I can't really sing that. Nor do I have an easy time singing about love. I'm in love. I'll always love you. Oh, we're going to be happy forever. I have a difficult time with that kind of word because that's not true.
Okay, this is deep. Because for all of my R&B lovers who know anything about Phyllis Hyman, most of her songs have to do with love, being in love, falling in love. Yet you're hearing her say she had a hard time dealing because that wasn't her life. So again, struggling.
It's a lie. It's not true for me. So I don't really like to sing about that very much. Although there are a couple songs on the album. There's one tune called "I Found Love." When I looked into your eyes, there it was. That is such a lie. That is such a lie. And when they brought the lyric to me, I thought, oh, the melody is wonderful. And what I had to do was reach into my acting chops to pull it off, because there was no such thing in my life.
Okay, I want you to get a hold of this. You see, she's laughing and she's joking. She was dying inside and took her life. So it kind of goes back to what I said when my daughter asked me, she didn't understand. I couldn't explain it because even when things are going great, it's still a battle in your mind. It's a battlefield of the mind. And then if you have something that you feel that you're longing for, like love, it's still hard.
And it makes it difficult to portray that feeling. If you're not feeling it,
But you've never felt that?
On occasion, very seldom. Very, very seldom. I don't do good in relationships.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know. I don't know. Guys don't really talk to me that much. I mean, they do as friends and stuff, but they don't ask me out. How about guys? I don't know what they think I do. But it makes it hard being in this industry, trying to find that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
When Anita Baker got married, I meant to call her up and ask her. where did you find this man? He said, well, Club Vicar have going on here. Maybe I can get a membership.
Well, I'd like to have you in that.
So, again, and then let's talk about Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, Robin Williams. It broke my heart when Robin Williams took his life because I literally grew up with him. Mork and Mindy, and he was always making us laugh. But a tortured soul. So, and being that Naomi Judd was 76, it is something that it can strike at any age. And I'm more cognizant now because I can feel when I'm not the way I should be. And one of the things that I noticed about too, again, watching Naomi Judd on the performance that they did at the CMAs versus previous, it was like watching someone that was in an altered state. Because one of the things I used to battle against and struggle against is I didn't want to take medication because sometimes I didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel like myself. But again, because of what happened with what I took my daughter through when she was in high school, I said, if that means that I have to not feel like myself, then so be it. Because I didn't want my daughter to be fearful of what her mom would do next or say next. Let me look at some comments here. Yeah. Yeah. No, it doesn't. And again, considering that, we have various age ranges here. I think Phyllis Hyman may have been in her 30s. Then it varies. And of course, we know that there are many young people that are succumbing to depression and they feel hopeless. Okay. That's why sometimes you can feel when people really have been through stuff, but now it makes you think, do they put artists through things so the music is real? Who's to say? And again, it was like Phyllis Hyman was singing songs that she longed for, but part of her didn't believe in. She wanted it, but you just heard her say that men didn't ask her out. She felt, she was singing a lie, but interesting, the music of such an artist as Phyllis Hyman, you would think that someone that could sing so intensely about love surely knows something about it. But you just heard her say no. You just heard her say no. So, like I said, this is a brown liquor kind of night. I'm just saying. Because I've been watching videos of the Judds and particularly Naomi, and it just really hurt my heart. It hurt my heart because, again, getting ready to go on tour, getting ready to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, performing together after 30 years. But I also know, or think I know, what that is, because when you know what you're capable of, you're struggling like, can I still measure up? And that's some pressure too. You become anxious. Like, what if I'm not as good as I once was? That happened to me. After that situation with that person, and I tried to go back to work, I was struggling. I couldn't process the information. Like, I mean, I wasn't on my game, and you know when you're not on your game. But I was afraid that others would see that I wasn't on my game. But the interesting thing, they didn't notice that I wasn't on my game, but I knew. And so the pressure of having to feel like I'm not quite there was hard, even though nobody else knew it. But it's the things that were going on in my head. So I can imagine the pressure that she was feeling. Fear. Am I going to be able to measure up? Am I going to fail? After all these years being away from the spotlight, I'm coming back now. Am I going to be able to do it? Yes, thank you, RM. And this is it here. And there's no failure in saying that I need help. There's no failure in that. Because I'm so grateful, because check it out. Had I succeeded in what I thought about doing this time last year, I would have missed my grandbaby's first birthday. I would have missed it. I would have missed it. We subconsciously allow lies to be told to us, and we process these, and we take these lies from the deceiver and we internalize them. Let me see here. Social media is fueling some of the mental health breakdown. People generally post photos where they're happy and living. I will agree, but check this out. I did a video on my music channel. Yes, social media is definitely a contributing factor, but I submit to you, it's no different than when we would see stars, musicians, artists that were out. We thought all their lives were just great, only to find out they were being abused, only to find out that they were on drugs. But when they came out to do these performances, we thought their lives were just great. But the only difference is now we see it 24/7. We see it 24/7 from everybody, not just celebrities. We see it 24/7 of the highlights of people's lives. But I was doing I did a reaction to the DeBarges, one of their songs, and I said, who would have thought, looking at the album cover and remembering the interviews that they did, that they were, all of them, the brothers and sister and mama, were being abused by their father. Who would have thought it? None of us did. And that's why the majority of them were on drugs. So yeah, I will submit social media is definitely a culprit, but it's just on a larger scale than what it's always been. Because before it was just some celebrities showing us the highlight reels of their lives, masking the hurt. And again, when you consider back in the 80s and 90s, particularly in the Black community, mental health wasn't something we talked about at all. And I can tell you, Naomi Judd talked about how some of it is genetic. Some of it is environmental and circumstantial. And I'll tell you why I agree with that. I had a high school classmate who was a star basketball player. Cool in the fan. We had graduated from high school, and he had gone off to school at Langston, I believe, and came home. And the sister asked him to watch her daughter. He, we were young 20s, he didn't have time for that. He was going to hang out with his friends, party or whatever, so he didn't. So I can't remember if his sister ended up leaving with the daughter or if somebody else took the daughter. But long story short, what happened was his niece was in a car and they had a car accident. And this was before seatbelts were required. And the child, who was a toddler, was thrown from the car and killed. That affected him so much. That was the break. He was never the same. Never the same, because he blamed himself. So he spiraled, started self-medicating. Again, the depression, start self-medicating with crack cocaine. Then the cycle would go, he would go to jail. Then they diagnosed him when he was back and forth in the system. Okay. He would get the medication he needed, then get out, think he was okay, stop taking it. The cycle continued. My point being, what was the traumatic event? The traumatic event that set it off. Now, he may have been predisposed to the condition, but the event that tipped the scales, if you will, was that event. The thing that tipped the scale for me, I may have already been predisposed to it. Because I look back over the course of my life, even in college, panic attacks. I had panic attacks in college. Yeah, the word catalyst. Yes. So I may have already been predisposed to mental health, mental illness due to my DNA, but the incident that tipped it over, or the catalyst, was that incident that I had with that individual. Because like I just told you, I can look back over the course of my life and I had various breakdowns or panic attacks. There are a couple of times, and since I will never forget, when I got ready to give birth to my child, I had a cesarean. They don't like to completely put a woman under if she's having a cesarean. They don't like to do that. They had to do that to me because I had a full-on panic attack trying to jump off the table. I can't do it. I can't do it. 9 months pregnant, in labor, having a panic attack. Another instance, I had a panic attack. I was about to get on the airplane. I freaked out. Couldn't do it. And all of this was before I was officially diagnosed. So again, even with that, before I was officially diagnosed, I would have these instances or triggering events. But for the most part, I was okay. Was able to, you see my awards behind me. I was able to be the top of my game before I was diagnosed. I was on my shit. Even after my diagnosis, I was on my shit, taking medication, but I was on it. But that triggering event, I hadn't been the same since. And that is why I knew it was time for me to retire. Because the pressure of knowing what I could once do and not being able to do it anymore, that's what I think was a contributing factor to what was going on in my head in May of last year. Because when I sat down and did the math, since that incident happened in 2017, from 2017 to 2001, I had changed jobs 8 times. 8. Prior to that, no. I had been in agencies for years. Same agency, but going up the ladder, but same agency. But after that, I couldn't take it. I changed jobs 8 times. Can anybody understand what I'm talking about? Can anybody understand the battlefield of the mind? Can anybody understand that? So that is why I come here and I talk to you about it, because when people think disability, they think about what you can see. But what about what you can't see? What about what you can't see? But I'm here to tell you it's okay. I'm here to tell you it is okay. I'm here to tell you that if you've had those thoughts, you had those contemplations, it's okay. You can seek help. It's okay. You just have a condition like diabetes, hepatitis. You just have a condition, but it can be treated. It can be managed. You don't have to give up on yourself. It's okay. I'm grateful that I did not give in to the voice. And I give all credit and grace and praise to God, because He sent that song at the very moment. The very moment that I was about to step off the curb. The very moment. And I cried, Jesus, I need you. Please don't pass me by. Those are the words of the song. At that moment, it snapped me out of it. It snapped me out of it. It snapped me out of it. No. Just a minute. Hey, Danny G, thank you. Thank you. I understand. I just said I was one of them. I'm like, I can manage it. And my high school classmate, he said, I can manage it. You feel like you're taking a medication. How many of us have seen shows? I'm an avid SVU watcher. Okay. That somebody may have, or Law and Order watcher, or whatever, have mental health, and they take the medication, and then they feel better, and then they leave, and then it happens again. How many of us have seen that? I was one of them. Thank you, Sir Hale, for the super chat. I was one of them. I don't need no medication. I'm okay now. I can handle it. I'll just, do my therapy, and I'll pray. I'll pray. I'll pray it away. I do pray. And I take my medication. Okay. I do pray. And I take my medication. You don't have to cam up. If you don't want to, you don't have to cam up. I know you. I pray for strength. I pray for peace. I pray for understanding. And I take my medication every morning. Every morning. Okay? And I'm sharing this with you because I don't want. And, one of the things I was hoping I could find an interview, but I can't, of Naomi Judd saying that before she had her own battle with depression, it was so easy to judge what she thought that looked like. How many of us have judged what we thought that looks like? or what we believe we know what that looks like, or who would, fit that mold of what that looks like. Without getting to know a person, we just, oh, I used to. It's humbling, but I'm not ashamed. And I'm not ashamed because somebody needs to hear it. Somebody needs to hear it. Somebody needs to hear it. Hey, bro.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As you can tell, I'm just getting back, so I'm just getting all my stuff together.
Yes. Yes.
But I do have, I do have, that same moment. I think if when you talked about, self-deletion, I had that over 4 years ago. So I understand the mental pressure, the life pressure, everything that's coming at you. But I would definitely tell, because I put that on my platform too. So I don't have a problem, explaining to people that, we all need an outlet. And one of the things that I would say, and I'm very cautious about, is I thank God for my decision in my early life of joining the military, because what we're able to receive as far as like mental health treatment is above and beyond, imagination. We have access to things that, yeah, it would cost people big money. But I am so honored that today, compared to when my dad was in the military, that we got it. There's more than just being able, because this whole weekend, I had to make some phone calls, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I was looking at, self-deletion. It meant, hey, I got stuff in me, and if I don't get it out, I might do a live and mess up and say something to the wrong person because I'm, displaced anger or displaced aggression or giving the wrong freaking advice. It's very serious.
Here's the thing. Oh, hold on. Here's
Sure.
the thing, and shout out to Sir Hell if you're still in here, because again, to that point, I had a situation on his show that I was triggered and I lost my temper and I
Right.
had to apologize. So again, I had to check myself because it's an ongoing struggle. It's an ongoing struggle. And but here's another thing to your point, Stu, is that even though I was in the military and it was available to us, I will remember, telling my soldiers, go, if you're feeling this, go get help. But as an officer, I wouldn't. I hadn't even considered it because I remember at the time when I was on active duty, getting ready to go through a divorce, and me and my ex-husband, my daughter's father having a problem. I didn't want to take medication because, and this was one of the first times, because I was afraid of the stigma that would go along with it, as far as how it would affect my career.
But you know what? But see, that's real, and it's still there. Prior to me, retiring, permanently. I remember I worked at the Navy hospital, and that's an active duty naval station. So, talking to the young sailors there, that stigma is still in there as far as the military, because it's like, if you're getting out, go get some mental health treatment. But the sad part is, if you're staying in, you almost got to advise the opposite, which is sad, but you almost do, because then their rank, their career can be literally destroyed saying the wrong thing, So it's there. My encouragement to everybody on this stream, is talk it out. Whatever is going on, if you feel, believe you, sometimes just having that friend, that person that just lets you vent, and just let out those feelings, those emotions, like I told everybody, I was totally at peace with my father's passing. That was the piece that passed all understanding. It was all the other stuff that had to go with it that, I had to get prepared for. And in that, preparation is what you got to deal with, because, this is a back-to-back death on me. This is now you got to take total leadership reins, over your own mother. This is the one that gave you life, breath, and strength.
Right.
And you got to take over, everything going on in the house.
Yeah. Hey, hey, let me get Bernard in here. Bernard, what you got?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. I always say, one of the greatest quotes I ever heard from a comedian. He said, "Everything is so fake that the truth seems suspect nowadays." And that's a problem, and that actually came from Cat Williams.
Yeah.
And so when you think of that process, they're some of the most depressed people. You've heard every comedian say it. Once again, you hear people say stuff, and even Kevin Hart said it's hard to perform about your life and people laughing at it. They're dying laughing at his dad. And when you have to listen to their language. If you don't listen to their language, and me and sister was talking about this earlier, like Uncle Stu and some of us that are older, you learn and know the language when you hear people talking. You hear the cry out. Some of us don't hear it until after it's too late. But you have to learn that language. That's why I just don't be jumping up in people chats and just throwing stuff. Because like I also said earlier to my sister when we was on the phone, you don't know what's going to trigger you to make you pull the trigger. You have to respect everybody's walks of life, because everybody has a story. And that's why I just don't be jumping up here, on chats, be trying to make everybody think the way I think. I'm open-minded about it. That's why I'm glad I took, life coach classes, and I read multiple books on how the brain works, and learning body language and everything, and listening to how people talk. And if you don't take the time to do that, more people have helped people do wrong things to themselves with their mouths than they actually have than anything else. And you don't even realize it, and it's too late. They might not come out and say, hey, Bernard, it was you that really made me trigger this, or that triggered me. And let me tell you something. When it used to be a crowd around me in school for two reasons. Either it was you would think we were fighting, it would be us joking each other. It would be a whole crowd. You would think it was a fight, or it would actually be a fight. Right? But my point is, either way, it was detrimental. Even though if you knew something personal about somebody, I go back and think about those things. So I just stopped doing certain things, because everybody can't handle jokes. And that the biggest lie we were ever told, sticks and stones will never break my bones, and words will never hurt me. These are those lies that we grew up with. I never taught my kids that, because
it's a damn lie. It's a damn lie.
It's a damn lie.
Well, and you said something, Bernard, that is so powerful, and it needs to be said. That's why you got to watch what you say to people and about people. Don't let somebody fool you because they laugh all the time. Don't let somebody fool you because they quiet all the time. You don't know their backstory. I keep telling people, I did not have to join Crips and Bloods. I joined the biggest weapon in this government. They taught us how to turn it on, but they never taught us how to turn it off. And I'll tell anybody, you want to know who the best people that knew how to fire downrange? It wasn't the men, brother. It was the women.
Hey, let me get Simon in here.
Hey, Simon.
What you got, Simon?
Hey.
Peace, Simon.
Can you hear me? You all right? Peace.
Yes.
Peace to the panel. No, I came up because your your monologue was just it struck me because to put a juxtaposition on this, I've had a recent experience like that. So what you was talking about, I don't know what year that was in, but that's in my present.
Last year. Last May, okay?
All right. So like there are many black women around the world experiencing this. There must be, because I don't get it. There's something that's missing. There's a missing link going on where there's a message that's not being put across, and it takes a certain person or a certain type of personality or a certain type of people to be able to, come out here and actually have a conversation about it, which is poignant. I mean, if you didn't actually get up here and actually start talking about this, I can't see any books about it. I can't go into the library. I can't check it. People ain't talking about it. It's like it's far and beyond. So props to you, and thank you. I'm gonna send this stream to about 1,000 people because it's one of them things, you know. So that's why I got on, because I can't, some women need to talk to women. Like I can't talk.
Let me tell you this real quick, and because if I don't, I'll forget. I'm old. So one of the things I used to think, when I used to see women and men walking down the street talking to themselves, I used to ask myself, how did they get to that? How did somebody get to that? Thinking, that it was so far-fetched, until I had my own mental health situation. I'm like, that could be me. Because what I mean by that is, I told you the triggering event that happened for me and the triggering event that happened for my high school classmate. It could have been anything that set that person over the edge, and they didn't come back mentally. And now I know. It could be because everybody on the street ain't always been that way. They could have something that said, just took you over. And it wasn't until I'm like, that could be me. Because I swear, when that situation happened with that person, I kept struggling to get back to the person I was, and I couldn't. I was struggling, because I remember what I was like before. I remember that, but I was like, I was grasping, like, how come I can't get it back? But it's okay. Because I'm different.
It's okay. I don't know if you are that different though. I mean, this is the thing. I think, I through my experience now growing up, like I sort of like have to sort of take an onus. Like I married this woman, and even if we go through our ups and downs, our zigzags, our strifes, our stresses, our blessings, I look back at them pictures and like when we was on holiday and there's those smiles, but I didn't realize what she was going through. And I think a lot of men like need to sort of, I don't know if need is a good word, but I think there's an education to be had in terms of understanding our community, whether that's across the road or, on a plane somewhere else. I don't know, but there is a deep thing going on here, because it resonates. It resonates like seeing a black woman like you, come out and talk. And I have the exact same situation going on. Now, if I could bring you and bring my, the person that I'm with together and go, look, she's been through that. This is not chalk and cheese. This is actually going on. I think this disconnect needs to come together. But
Simon, can I make a correction?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not challenging. I'm going to make a correction and I'm going to make a statement. First of all, this is not a woman's issue. This is a full issue. As ironic as this sounds, there are more men who are self-deleting than there are women. So when it comes to the strength of mental health, there are more men actually suffering, especially suffering in silence, because we don't have an outlet. Second thing is that you said there's not enough books. There is plenty of books. I don't know if you heard what she said earlier. In the African American community, especially because me and TJ is in the same age group, that was something that was not talked about. It was not that was not talked about, not communicated. The other thing that has to be done is that people got to stop saying, I got this issue, and then not getting it. Because see, some people are using it as a crutch for bad behavior. And some people got to stop using it as a crutch for bad behavior, because if I can self-identify that I have an issue, guess what? That means I already solved 80% of the problem. Now it's time to go get the help. Period. And so, Simon, a lot of people already know they got it, because you search on YouTube, first thing they'll talk about is, oh yeah, we got this trauma, we got that trauma. Okay, what are you doing about it? So if you're just constantly going around saying it and not getting help for it, there's a problem. You understand? And so when you're listening to a TJ or you're listening to me, we are people who can identify and went and sought help and continue to get it. So we're letting people know there's help out here. There's resources out here. So when someone tells me, well, I got it, but I don't listen to that garbage. I don't listen to it, because either you're going to get it. No, this is just for me. Don't charge it to the host. You got to go get it. You got to go get it. So Simon, let you know, the books is out here, the resources out here, the conversation is out here. And it's not just a female issue, it's a male issue just as well. And that's why I believe part of, not full, but part of the manosphere as a whole is really trying to advocate mental health and to get some brothers into some serious help.
Hey, Simon, I just saw that RM put in the National Suicide Prevention Hotline for the UK. And here's the thing, and Simon, you may not have mentioned that, but you were talking about your loved one is dealing with it. But sometimes, did she even know that's what she was dealing with? And that's what I'm saying. And that's how I took because sometimes you're dealing with stuff and you don't even know why you are. You don't know. You can't even identify it for yourself. So that's what I took from what you were saying. And if I'm wrong, correct me. I took that she's dealing with these things, but couldn't even identify why she was.
Exactly. Yeah. Peace to Uncle Stu. I get your perspective. But I think that's what I was trying to say is exactly what TJ was saying. There's like a conscious and unconscious part of this. And the struggle is like, okay, right. My partner is professional, right? She's got a qualification. She makes a living. She's fine. Okay. As soon as she steps at that door in the morning, she goes to her job. She comes back. Come the holiday, it's a completely different ball game, right? Because there's a void, right? She and the thing is like, there's a connection with us. I know her. The rest of the world doesn't know her. So what she displays to the rest of the world and the people that she comes across, they take it for like. They're just like, okay, that's you. okay, when I know that's not her. So it becomes a different type of dynamic in terms of the way people perceive you and the way you're perceived, from your loved ones who actually know who you are. Um, and sometimes people see themselves as weak, because that's, if you have a discipline, and like you're always sort of being strong armed into understanding that you're doing your job well, then and you're not actually doing your family stuff well, then it becomes a bit confusing. It's like at work, everything's cool. You come back home and suddenly it's like, oh, how come this is wrong? How come I can't take care of my child this way? How come uh, she's tripping up or he's tripping up? Or how come the father seems to have more control and understanding over this? How come, there's all these questions. So I don't know. It's something I'm learning. I don't know everything about this at all. I'm not saying that. And you can't hand everyone a book. Some people just don't read like others read. That's a skill. Like, and I think we take that for granted. Some people are just well read and they're good at it. And other people have different ways of learning. We all learn in different ways. So it is what it is. But I just think overall, in my, at my time right now, what resonated with me in terms of sort of what's being spoken on, what was spoken on earlier, is the fact that there's another person that's actually saying exactly what my ex-partner is going through, and that's bizarre because she's on the other side of the globe, even the friends of are just like, okay, everything's fine, but I can see the struggle in their face. It's a struggle.
And here's let me and check this out. And this is, I want you, if she hasn't considered, maybe talk to her about going to get tested, because see, once I got tested and I got my diagnosis, I was able to look back over the course of my life, going back to high school, and I'm like, all the things that I had made more sense. It made more sense. But again, like Stu said, because we really don't do that in the Black community, I just didn't, that because they would say, oh, she's just emotional or she's just this. But now I know it is so much more than that. And here's another thing. Check it out. Y'all know that I'm retired now. Well, about the year that situation happened with that guy, and maybe about a year after, I was coming to the realization that I just can't, something's not right. And I applied for my disability retirement. Guess what they told me? Initially, they told me no, because even though it was documented I had the disability, but because my performance had not suffered, because my attendance had not suffered, and because I was not a conduct issue, that they disapproved it. So even though it took everything inside of me to keep my shit together so I could go to work and I could perform and I did not go off on anybody, because of that, they disapproved my request to retire. So they were telling me in order to be considered for a retirement, I had to either be a discipline problem, I had to have a performance problem, or I had to have a attendance problem. Never mind the fact that I had worked my entire career to come to a certain level of excellence. But because my mind was not working with me, they didn't approve my retirement. So I had to be fucking up to get a retirement, even though it took everything inside of me. I would go into my office sometimes and just break down because I was just too, but because when I walked outside that office, I had my shit on point.
But TJ, that's the only way we can get disability. We literally had to be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, although we knew we wasn't right. You're absolutely right. And I don't think everybody understands that. They don't understand the struggle it takes for those who was willing to fight and to die so that people have a right to speak. We've been to countries you can't even speak, have the right to do all these different things, and yet people don't understand when you hear Congress talk about, oh, let's cut military budgets and let's cut military spending. They're not talking about bombs and ships. They're talking about our benefits. They're talking about our ability to get resources and to get help and to get the very things that you're not trained to do. People don't understand that. That's why I said earlier, we was taught to turn something on. We was never taught to turn it off.
And I'm grateful for my husband, because this last time, because I had been through it, I was literally killing myself to go back, because, how are they going to tell, you worked your whole career to get to a point that and they're telling you in order to get what you want, you got to basically trick it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
After you worked so hard to get to a certain level and you breaking down. I had in my job, people literally were leaving work, driving and jumping off bridges.
Yes.
But because I'm recognizing I can't handle it, I'm reaching out, and they say, well, no, because your attendance is good, your performance is good, and your conduct is good, even though I'm holding on to dear life to keep it afloat. But as long as they were getting what they needed, who gave a damn? Bolo, what you got?
It's crazy because, I believe Uncle Stu, you and I talked about this.
Yes.
It's this thing is no joke. When we look at this world, they turn you on and then throw you to the wayside. They don't teach you how to cope. They don't give you coping mechanisms. They give you enough to figure out what you need to figure out when you're out there in the world, when you're in that, when you're in war. When there is no more war, how do you figure these things out? How do you turn it off? Why is it that when you cut the budgets, you're not cutting off making the tanks, making the planes, but you're cutting off what can facilitate these men and women to come back from where they were? This is what's so important about, what the young man that was here, well, above me, said that this is why the Lord tells you, forsake ye not the assembly of one another. Because when you guys are together and you guys are talking about your PTSD, your depression, your mental illness, you don't understand that there's somebody across the globe going through or entering what you've gone through. So what's so important is all this information that, speaking militarily wise, that you and Uncle Stu have figured out, as hard as it's been, you guys made it, or continuously still fighting. There's someone that is going through that right now. And with all this information you have, you could pass it on to them. And guess what? It's free. This is why you guys are testimony. This is why you guys are a beacon, a light. This is why having these conversations are so important, to let people know that they are not by themselves. This is what the enemy does. So when the Lord tells you that the enemy seeks who he may devour as a roaring lion, pictorially, he's telling you that lions isolate people. And what does this enemy make you think? You're the only one going through it. No one can understand you. He purposely makes you walk into that room and close that door behind you. He purposely makes you think that no one can understand, so that you want to walk in the traffic, so that you want to swallow that gun. But just someone hearing this conversation, they're going to say, oh, snap, Uncle Stu, Auntie made it through it. So maybe I can too. All you need is hope. And this world tries to drown hope from you by taking Christ away. Christ is the symbol of hope. that there's a better tomorrow. That if you can make it to the next minute, you can make it to the next hour. You can make it to the next day. And it's just one step at a time. That's all it is. Let's not look at the mountain. Let's look at one foot in front of the other. And that's why I love having conversations like this. And this is why I will thank always the Lord for you and Uncle Stu, because to open up your hearts and to be as transparent as you guys are, it's a godsend, man. It's a godsend. And I thank you both. I thank everyone that's on, the panel that's opening up their heart and telling people their issues, because today's age, especially in the Black and Hispanic community, if you do what you're doing now, you're broke, you're weak, you're a sucker, you're a punk. We don't want to deal with you. This is what we're taught. But you guys are breaking that mold. So I just want to thank God for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, nephew. Simon, you had something else you was gonna say? Oh, I mean, Bernard, you had something you was gonna say first, and then Simon, and then Stu.
Oh yeah, like I said, some things you make from private, you make public. But like I told you, and some people know. I mean, yeah, you looking at a guy that took 48 sleeping pills. They never pumped my stomach. Straight up, they ain't pumped my stomach. Shouldn't even be walking around. So mine was triggered from years ago, and for that to happen, and that part I will and I can't say, being that my kids were younger back then, because that was 2004, they were in single digits. Yeah, part of me and that's selfish. I'm man enough to admit that. And when your daughter and your son approach you about that, you got to handle that and answer that. That's why I'm looking in the camera. When you survive that, you still got to answer that to them, because it wouldn't have been fair for them. All right. So I dealt with that part. And one of my favorite books that I read at that time was He Motions. I think every man and woman should read that book, because if you don't understand the book, that a man, or if a man want to read a book that seems like, T.D. Jakes was like walking with you, that book right there, He Motions, I still refer back to. I could do a whole month on content just off of that book, but there's numerous books. And I say this, that's why I take my time with my YouTube channel. Like I told sis earlier, I don't give a rat's coochie what anybody think what you think, how long it's taken me to do my channel. I'm doing this because this is what my channel is going to be about, facts and the uncomfortable truth. We don't talk about that, because majority of the stuff that most of us in this community and these messy chats that I see is not about this. Nothing to do with this. Nothing. So once again, I'm looking into the camera for a reason. Nothing. We need to talk more about it. I'm not a solutionist, but all of us can bring our solutions to help others, like, Simon, Hector said, and Bolo TV. Somebody across the world, somebody that sees this tonight, it's going to save their life. And I tell my wife and I tell people all the time, your most defining moments do not always and will not happen in church. It happens here. Real life. I'm not knocking church, but everybody doesn't go to church. Everybody can't afford a therapist. A lot of people let their ego get in the way. Men. I'm a man. I'm not a male. I'm a man. Two different things. We need to stop playing these games and thinking that, I don't care what anybody thinks about you. You're trying to survive, because when this camera goes off, when this microphone goes off and your avatar goes off, it's just you. Like, you don't talk to nobody else more, and you don't spend no more time with anybody than yourself. You talk to yourself and spend more time with yourself than anybody. I don't care how long you've been married. You live inside yourself more and talk to yourself more to anybody than yourself. And that can be a dangerous thing, because a lot of us can't beat or know how to silence that inner voice. It's quiet, but it's dangerous. It's quiet. It can also be powerful. So you got to change your way of thinking, because I'm going to tell you something. You can't tell your mama, you can't tell your brother, you can't tell your sister, you can't even tell your spouse. And this is another thing, and I'm going to end it right here and let everybody else talk. Stop telling people stuff you should be telling the therapist. Because let me tell you this, your mama, your spouse, your brother, your sister, your best friend you grew up with, they're going to always give you or say something out the side of their net to you, because they're not trained to answer you. Stop telling people stuff you should be telling a therapist, or if you don't have a therapist, a life coach. I'm not saying it's simple to do that because you're opening yourself up. But one of the first steps I learned the hard way, stop telling people stuff you shouldn't be telling them, because now you've made something private to public. And once you make it public, you're going to get a reaction you usually don't want. And the problem is that they're reacting and not responding. That's why they call first responders and not first reactors on the scene. People react to what you say. They're not trained to respond. And I yield on that.
Okay, Simon, before you jump in here, I got to go ahead and give it up to Bernard. I'm going to tell you why. Because when I started on my journey, like I said, when I told you it's just me, my mom, and my sister, and I remember when I started, when I was diagnosed and early on taking medication, I wasn't really sure I wanted to share that, because again, growing up in the Black community, like, you don't need no medication and this, that, and the other. But I had to silence that. I had to do it. I was struggling because, again, I understand the perspective, but I knew that I was struggling. And to that point, Bernard, even though my husband said that he's never knowingly dealt with someone who admittedly had mental health issues, but he has been with me. He's gone to some sessions with me and saw me break down, and I mean, snot crying. And that, even though he can't understand, him sitting by my side while I'm talking to, has helped, it's just, it gave me such comfort. And I'm sharing this before Simon speaks, because if your partner, if your loved one, you can't understand, because shoot, they don't. They don't understand. But if you say to her, listen, I don't know what you're dealing with, but if you want to find out, I'm going with you. Because the time Mr. Randolph just sat there and quiet, because what was he going to say? But he saw me just pour out and say, I literally said, I'm afraid that I'm going crazy. I said that. Hysterical. But I worked through it. I'm still here. So Simon, it's on you. You next. And then Stu.
Listen, I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to say this. I've learned so much from my partner. So much. Like, no one could have taught me that. No one could have taught me how to deal with this. Or, I don't even want to put it in a negative way. It's just understanding a woman, like a female or a person even. Like, I have lots of family members, and I've not learned anything in that sort of sense in terms of dealing with stuff as a man. Like, having to be there, having to, at any beck and call, 3 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm a single father. I've got to look after our daughter, right? And I've got to ensure that she, is safe and she understands what's going on. There's a lot that's going on, but it's okay, because she's not a bad person. She just doesn't know what's going on, because it's just not that sort of information out there. And I've got to be the guy that turns around and makes sure that she's safe and protected, because no one's going to ensure that that happens. Like, I've got to ensure that our daughter has a mother to be there for her, right? And like, when I was listening to Bolo, I was going to make this short, but I was listening to Bolo and he was just bringing chills down my damn spine. Bernard is something else. Like, Bernard, thank you, bro. You're right, 100%. And you know, everyone wants to get to that place. I think, like, as men, we want to get to that place where we can speak like on that level, and we go through our trials and tribulations because we're human. We're not immortal, and we need to acknowledge that the places we put ourselves in and the people that we put ourselves around, the relationships that we form, make us. So I'm just on a journey right now, and I do some, you know, I'm trying to get away from doing the wrong things. You know, I'm a godly person. I'm real godly, like when it really comes down to it. But you know, Uncle Stu, blessings. I know you're going through some things, and I appreciate your support. Like, Mrs. Randolph, salute to you. I'm gonna bounce.
Hold on, Simon. Don't bounce yet. Don't bounce yet.
Okay.
Don't bounce yet. Go ahead. Finish saying what you guys say.
I was just gonna say, like, no one's gonna bring this up apart from TJ. You know, like, ever since I ever saw her, first time we had conversations, I was like, who's this woman? Because at that point in time, this is like, I don't know how long ago this was, but at that point in time, I was like, I've never seen a woman like this. And it wasn't the fact that, you know, she just got married. Like, what was going on in her personal life was different. But it's just the fact that it was so, like, you know, there was just not another person out there going, okay, I'm going through this, you know, bouncing with people in the manosphere and blah, blah, blah. Do you get what I mean? She was just like, okay, you know, there are women out there like this, because we weren't having those conversations. It was all strictly our trials and tribulations as men. So, you know, obviously, like, now there's been there's been, you know, a lot of personalities that's popped up, but you know, she's one of the originals, so, you know, kudos.
Well, I'm gonna say this. The reason I told you not to bounce off, if you look down my timeline, you'll find that I had a whole series on mental health long before I even began being monetized. So it's on both channels. Second thing I want to tell you, as a man, there are some mental health issues women go through that you and I could never have the education for. I was never prepared for a 28-year-old to pass away and to deal with his mother, the woman that gave birth. That's a mental health issue that you cannot prepare for at all. And that is a mental health issue I deal with on a daily basis. Daily. Today, she could be the happiest woman alive and running around and have no cares in the world, and then turn around and be whooping and crying because somebody may wore a hat like her son. Somebody may have had the same cologne. Somebody may just show up and have his mannerism. So when it comes to that, I'm speaking to you directly because as a man, that is a hard thing to deal with. You understand? So I need you to understand, man to man, husband to husband, there are some mental health things that we deal with. And guess what? We was never prepared. There's no college degree. There's none of those things that can prepare you for that. I not only have to protect her from her mental health issue, I got to protect her from other people who is all, you know, because I am, like it or not, I'm a public figure. And so you have people that don't give a damn about her and will go after her. And I got to protect her from those people as well as her own self. And these are people that she has tried to help.
Exactly.
Okay, so I just want you to know that you're not alone as a man.
Let me throw this in there too, man, because I think on top of what you just said, Uncle Stu, is so important to know that this is why these networks are needed, to let each other know that we're not alone. so that when Uncle Stu goes through something, Bernard will reach out. When Bolo goes through something, Uncle Stu will reach out. So that if you're going through this, like I said before, if you're going through this and I'm about to enter into it, because when Uncle Stu is protecting his woman's mental, her mental, who's protecting his? And that's so important, because sometimes when you put so much in, there's no one there to replenish you. So who's protecting his? Who does he have? Because right now she's going through what she's going through. So he has to have that strength to pick her and carry her, right? Who's going to replenish him? This is why these conversations are so important. This is why these relationships are so important. This is why, you know, when genuine relationships, not fly by night, genuine relationships are so important, because that one phone call, you may not want to have a real breakdown. You may just want someone just to hear you out. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just to lighten your load just a little so that you're ready to go back into that fight. So this right here, this is why the Lord tell you, forsake not the assembly of one another. This is so important. It's paramount, because not only does it help the person that you're trying to help, it also helps you.
And remember, he said those relationships are genuine. So what do I mean? I could pick up my actual cell phone and call all three of these people on this panel. I just left Bolo. I just left New York, so I could have easily rolled up on Bolo.
No doubt.
I'm less than 15 minutes from Bernard, and picking up a phone call to call TJ.
Well, Bolo picked up my call the other day because I was on the edge, and I was about to do some stuff, and he talked me off.
Right. So Simon, that's why I say reach out to TJ via email, because there are real people behind these computers. You got fake ones, they are, but you also got some real people. I mean, if you go to my page and we did the 757 meetup, you'll see me and Bernard right there. You'll see me, Intentional Millionaire, right there. You understand? We are real people who are going through real things in real life. And sometimes we don't tell you what we're going through on a live. You know, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Well, and again, to the point, that is why I started this channel a year ago, because as I was going through my therapy, because when I started, again, when the situation happened on May 8th, and I called on that Monday, I called my boss and told him what happened. And he said, I had no idea, because, you know, again, coming to work, I'm on point. But again, I know what it takes to come out to do that. And so immediately they put me on leave immediately. And I hadn't been to work, since. So as I was going through my therapy and all that kind of stuff, and that is why I wanted to start the channel then, because I'm like, I'm helping me, but maybe I can help somebody else too.
I agree.
Yeah, you guys helped me. I mean, I posted that like when I started. It was pretty random. I had no intention of going online. I had no intention of getting on YouTube. I had no intention of doing any sort of social media. I was in a 10-year marriage, and I was just quite happy. And it was kind of random. And then I met all these people, you know, because we was all just locked down and like things were going on. And some people have been kinder than others. And I've stuck with the people that have been the kindest, because, you know, that's what it is. It's just like that's my nature. Like, in terms of I'm from a certain type of breed. You get what I'm saying? And I appreciate it. You don't have to rock with me. Like, I get that. You get what I mean? And in saying that, you know, I'll say I was gonna bounce. I need to bounce. So I love you guys, man. Peace. Take care, man. especially
You
Uncle,
too.
man.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Peace, love.
Who's your favorite soccer player? We call it soccer here. You call it football there. Who's your favorite team?
You know what? I don't actually watch football. I'm a bit of an unusual dude. Like, I'm not a sports dude, but I do athletes. I do athletics. So like, I'll do the track all day long. But man, I'll have a think on that, Uncle. I might even have to start watching.
Dream one day.
Hey, Simon, if you want to give your loved one my email address, and I'd be willing to talk with her.
I think she'll really appreciate that, to be fair. And you
Okay.
take care of yourself. Thank you very much. Peace.
God bless you, bro. God bless you. Yeah. And I wanted to, if you can, I don't know, Big Bad Bull said it a while ago about the life coaches. Well, people got to realize, think about all your coworkers. And I put this in perspective to everybody. Think about your coworkers that half-ass their job. They're therapists, doctors, and nurses the same way. That's why I try to stay out of the hospital. I don't want to see average surgeon ever having a chance to operate on me. I don't want that nurse that don't like their job, like your coworker that we know that don't do their job, to be my nurse. There are also bad therapists out there that shouldn't be therapists. I've heard multiple people say that life coaches have done way better jobs than therapists. You have to check who you're going to when you go to any of this stuff. So if you put yourself in perspective of that coworker, you know that's lazy as hell, that's in every industry. It's just what it is. That's in every industry. All of us have worked with somebody like, I don't even know how you got this job, and it's dangerous that you got it. How you get this job? You just come to work and barely do your job. So what I tell people is, I am a certified life coach, accredited through the United States. I have a symbol and I have a school that everybody can call and check my credentials. It's a Big Bad Bull. Number two, I think they said there's way more than 60 or 70% of people who has a college degree never pick up a book again and read. But they in this profession. I got a job, not a career. I went ahead and got this degree. But you know what? Mandrill comes, Bernard comes, Bolo TV comes, Uncle Stu. I'm going to do just enough. Just enough is not enough. You're playing with our damn lives here. That's what people need to understand. You're playing with all our lives here. And every person on this panel has a purpose for somebody or someone, whether you like them or not. I don't give a rat's coochie again what you think about anybody up here. Stop playing with me. It's not a game. If it wasn't a game, these men wouldn't be on this panel. And y'all look at this chat. I want everybody on the panel and everybody in the chat to look how different this chat is to those other messy ass chats that you see in other YouTube streets. Try me. Look how serious this one is. Mandrill, Uncle Stu. But look, y'all look at the numbers. Oh, this thing don't have 200 people in it because we ain't talking about nothing everybody wants to hear.
But you know what? Just like when you have a party, I don't concentrate on the people that don't come. I concentrate on the people that's here because that's who it's intended for. Real quick, OG Patrice asked a question. She said, see, I don't know. What I put, what the Judd sisters put out was that they lost their mother to mental illness. So that led me to surmise that might be the case. They have not said that, but they said we've lost our beautiful mother to mental illness. And then when they accepted the induction into the Hall of Fame, Ashley Judd said, I was wishing my mom could have hung on a little bit longer. Because they had just performed at the Country Music Awards earlier in April. So I don't know, they haven't said that, but that is what I surmised. Go ahead, Mandrill, what you got?
I think it's important also to educate the general public about mental health as much as humanly possible. You know, I had mental health issues and I didn't know it. Like I had no clue. my late father had to point it out to me when I came home after 3 years of combat, 3 years straight, no breaks, no R&R, straight in 2 different countries, 2 different battlefields. I thought I was all right, you know. He said, "Hey, when you get back to Bragg, go to the main. You got a main house. You know what the main hospital is?" I said, "Yeah." So when you get there, go there and check in. Say you want to get screened for PTSD. I said, "I don't have PTSD." He said, "You got it. I've been watching you since you got here. You don't know it, but you got it. Just do it for me." I said, "All right." He said, first time he ever made me promise him anything. Ever. Never told me to promise him anything. But he said this time, "Promise me you'll do this." I said, "Okay. No problem. I promise." So I got there and I checked in, got screened. Sure enough, diagnosed. I was afraid what it was going to do because like TJ said, you're afraid of what it's going to do to your career, because I was working with not only sensitive information, but my job was as sensitive as it comes, as top secret as it comes. You know what I'm saying? So I was concerned about that, but it was no issue. It didn't interfere with my performance. So carried on, and I remember one of the I even know what one of the triggers is. You know what I'm saying? And it snuck up on me. I didn't know. And I say alert the general public about it, because the stigma is what really, that's one of the things that affects me the most. I'm very much so misunderstood, like to the nth degree. You know what I mean? And people don't understand. Like, I look at them and I don't understand why they do what they do. You try to talk to people and ask them honest questions, and they just look at you like you're an alien. And therapists. I've had 2 good therapists in my whole life. And you're right about that. The VA, good grief.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mandrill, but I'm looking here, and thank you, RN. So just what I surmised, yes, it says country legend Naomi Judd died by suicide after a long time struggle with mental health. So it goes back to, and again, I have no inside knowledge here, but as I was talking about, the first time performing after 30 years with her daughter, battling depression, getting ready to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, getting ready to go on a world tour, the immense pressure I'm sure she felt, having been one half of the Judds, looking over her career, what she was able to do. Because I'm going to tell you, if you look at the previous performances and you look at that performance that she did at the CMAs, you can see again, of course she's not going to be flouncing around, but you see it. You see it. And probably thinking about, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to do it? Am I going to be able to pull it off? It was too much.
All that tension builds up, and it goes to what I'm saying, that more of us contemplate self-deletion than people realize. Far more of us do. Like, I never told my mom that I contemplated it. She asked me, and I was honest with her. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? I just, lying is just not my thing. So I told her, yeah, and I never told her how close I came to doing it. I didn't say that, but I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, another fraction of a pound of pressure, and another fraction of a pound of pressure to my finger, and I'm not talking to you guys.
Okay, I was being quiet because I just wanted to listen, but I need you to understand, Mandel. As I said to Simon, you are not alone. So
Mandrell.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. Mandrell, you got to forgive me. I'm tired, man. I still got that jet lag on me.
It's all right. It's all right, Uncle Stu.
But you're not alone. My cousin saved my life. He's a Vietnam vet. I'm a Persian Gulf vet.
Mm.
You know, so I seen combat. I know what it's all about. I got you. I understand that. So you're not alone. My cousin had to save me. You know, did the same thing. He saw something on me and made me do the same promise. And I was like you. I didn't feel nothing. I, in that theory, thought I was good, but I wasn't good. I wasn't good. And you have to understand the person that probably understood me better than everybody, which was an irony, was my oldest daughter. She watched it. She saw it. She saw everything. And when she got help, she also had to come back to help me.
Mm.
You understand? And she loves me more now because she understood the things I really was going through as a father, and yet was still acting as the father I needed to be. But she watched her father struggle. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I just want you to know that, and this is something everybody don't understand. Vets look out for one another because we intimately understand each other. We understand going through training. We understand, you know, going through combat. Even those that didn't go through combat still saw things in the military that was a little bit deeper, you know, than what we was prepared to see. You know, so you didn't necessarily have to go into combat to get post-traumatic stress disorder. You didn't have to necessarily go into combat to see deletion.
That's what I had to deal with because, again, in as much as I did not go, I sent men and women off.
Right.
My job was to swear them in on starting September 11, 2001. I was swearing in kids that would never come back. I swore in a kid who went to my church who did not come back, who had just turned 19. I worked with people at the MEPS who didn't come back. And again, you have that survivor's guilt. How did I not?
TJ, I got 2 books about that. Yeah, that's deep.
That survivor's guilt, that is, listen,
that's real.
I never would have imagined it would have been this serious. Like, that is a thing. It is. It's an elephant on your shoulders. It really is. And people don't understand it. That survivor's guilt is way deep.
Yeah, it is. And for me to never been in the military, I've experienced you guys coming home through my best friend and some other people I know. Wait a minute, what happened to TJ Randolph? What's different about Uncle Stu? Wait a minute, that's not the Mandrell I know. Now the people you come home to, you can't even begin to talk to them because it's like 2 different worlds.
Yes.
You cannot come home and then how many times you heard the spouse say or the family say, I want my Mandrell back. I want my TJ Randolph back. I want my Uncle Stu back. I want my daddy back. I want my sister back. I don't know them. And then what got bad over here, even before some of you guys left while you went in, I tell people now, since the 80s on up until now, look at Chicago. You don't even have to go to war to be shell shocked anymore. It could just happen right there in your neighborhood. So now you got a double whammy.
Yeah.
There's 2 things. Once again, I got them protecting my country right here on the panel. And then you still got the brother or sister who didn't go, who still might not be home when you get back, on top of you going to war because they didn't decide to, survive the war that was on the streets. It's crazy. This is what I'm saying. It can be a double whammy. And then there's a parent who went through all that with both children. One didn't come back the same. One lost one in the street. Or one came back different. And the other one is shell shocked from the streets. It's crazy, and people don't think about this. That's how deep I go into it, because now the parent is trying to, and I'm just saying, I just need my big brother or my big sister back, Mandrell, TJ Randolph. I need my Uncle Stu. I need all my big brothers and sisters or Bolo or whoever's in the pet channel. I just want them to come back normal, but I can't expect that from you guys when you writing me letters like my friend was. He's like, man, what do you do when you got a 12-year-old boy holding a gun? And I got to defend our country. He said, how do I shoot him? He said, how do I do that? And he's writing me these letters, and I'm sitting up here like shaking and crying. He said, what do you do? He's like, what do you do? He said, people don't understand this. And it's crazy, but I'm yielding to y'all. Y'all go ahead, because I have much respect for
what
y'all.
you had to say, I'm gonna say it for me, and this is just for me. So I don't want it to blanket everybody. I'll never be the same. I'll never be that computer whiz kid that my mom graduated out of high school. I'll never be that guy that was in college. I'm not him. He's gone. He's gone. I'll never be that individual.
Right.
I'll be the Uncle Stu I am now, but I can never be that dude before. This is why. And again, I'm just speak for me, so I don't want to blanket everybody. I'll never be the same, and I'm not somebody you want to push too far.
Yes. And what really cooks my noodle.
I don't do street stuff. Don't push me too far. This is why I kind of stay alone. Although I get on YouTube and I talk a whole lot. But Ray would tell you, this is not a man you really want on the street. And what I mean by that is, because I don't want people thinking when they meet me that I'll be doing cuckoo and crazy stuff. It simply means, hey, his level of tolerance is not as high as you think. You don't know how many phone calls, she's gonna laugh. You don't know how many phone calls TJ will give me at 11, 12 o'clock at night. Bro, you okay? Bro, you all right? Because she can tell when somebody done pushed me a little bit too far. You understand? This is why, I don't mess with people, especially veterans, especially. And there's a key for that, because we ain't gonna talk too much. We don't do the threats. We don't do the showing you. We don't do that. We don't do that. And Bernard, it's sad. Growing up in New York, watching 1/3 of the homeless population were Vietnam veterans, and my dad's a Vietnam veteran. Watching even right here in where we are, the largest military state in the United States.
Yep,
VA. We got it bad. We got it bad. Go right outside of any military bases. I mean, we got it bad. So it's like TJ. I used to watch dudes just talking to themselves, women talking to like, what the heck happened to them? Never know what can happen. So I feel when he talks about 2 tours combat.
5.
And let me say that there's a difference, Bernard. When the Vietnam veterans went in, they only had to do 1 tour. 1. They are doing something called the backdraft. They was just starting it when I went to Persian Gulf. Now they're doing backdrafts. What, for those that don't understand, you sign a contract to do, let's say, 4 years active duty. Technically in that contract, you're only supposed to do one tour of combat duty. But guess what? There's a catch on the end of that contract, which means technically you sign for 8 years, not 4. You do 4 active, 4 inactive. And what they do is they was catching everybody that did 1 tour, and then they used the subcontract to send them right back into another tour. Some volunteered, some was forced. Me and TJ did a big thing about General Colin Powell. Big thing. I served under General Colin Powell. I served under the first George Bush. That's why I give honor where honor is due, because these men had to make a decision that is not something you want to have, on your record. In the meaning of what TJ had to do, sending boys into combat.
Hey, let me go ahead and read this here. Brittany B says, my mom/mentor did 21 years of service and was deemed unemployable because she don't and can't play with people and can't understand when instructions don't make sense. It
Oh my God.
What?
it is
Stream
and here's the thing, Brittany, and that is why, again, the triggering event for me, and that's how I knew something wasn't right with me, because things that I could easily get a hold of and things that didn't bother me as much, I was cutting heads left and right. My patience, with tolerance with stuff was like this, and I just couldn't. And I'm like, and I did not want everything that I had worked so hard for to go to shit with me getting, because my job was doing disciplinary actions for people. And I couldn't be, that was my job. So I couldn't very well end up being a victim of my own on my own job. And now they trying to write me up for a disciplinary action. Okay. So it was a battle. But when that triggering event happened, that was when I knew, so I was not the same. I just knew it. It took me about a year to really get a hold of the fact, okay, something is not right with me. But once I realized, I'm like, I'm not the same. I'm not. Bolo, what you got? You've been silent. What you got, Bolo?
I mean, I agree with everything everyone is saying, man. When a lot of the times it takes someone that's outside of your situation to see what you're going through, because when you're in shit, everything smells like shit, And a lot of the times we don't have people that actually listen to us, right? Especially when you're going through mental, depression, mental illness. When I had mine, first thing, it was, I got to go see somebody, because, you're in the shit. So how do I see clear? How do I have clarity? I don't. And the first thing you have to do is admit to that, help comes outside of you. You're not always going to be able to, help yourself. And you have to have that resolve to say that help does come outside of you. And and this is where these things happen, where pride, ego, these things hold on to you because you're supposed to be a man. All of these things that happen, especially, I can't fathom, especially being a serviceman, being taught all these things that you're supposed to be. Run through walls, go conquer that mountain, go do this, go do that. And then you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm broken, I need help. It's hard to click from one side to the other. And I'm speaking from a civilian's perspective. I'm not talking from a military person's perspective. So I can imagine how much harder it is to click from one end to the other. But it starts with knowing that help has to come outside of you. Because at that point, you don't have that resolve. It's not that you don't want to have it. It's hard for you to figure it out. It's hard for you to see. So this is why it's so important that before we fall into these situations, and we have no clue when we're going to fall into these situations, to set up the right people around you that's going to pour into you, so that when you do, God forbid, fall into this, you already have that set up. We do it all through our lives with insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance. We do it all over our lives. Why not set it up for our mental? So it's so important to look further. You know what I'm saying? We got to play chess, not checkers. And I thank the Lord that, you don't find too many people that you're going to click with and that's going to be genuine, especially on the internet. Especially. So when Uncle Stu and I click and we talk, it's like we'll talk maybe once a month or something like that, but it's like we never separated. We kick it, we laugh. You know that drunk man's laugh that people have when they really been around each other that long? We'll both have that kind of laugh and we just chill. But the point that I'm trying to make is this here is paramount. Knowing that you have an issue. Because the longer you fight within yourself and say you don't, the harder it's going to be for yourself to figure it out when you do.
Also, and Big Bad Boy, you're absolutely right. War is war. Doesn't matter if it was 1 versus 10. It's not a competition. It's tragic and shit. Listen, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. The reason why the gist of this conversation is mental health. And here's the thing. When I was, like I said, when I was diagnosed, even though I didn't get diagnosed until 2007, I was able to go back and say, oh my gosh, so many things make sense to me now. Things that I was dealing with in my youth that I did not understand. But again, even knowing that, the triggering event is what, and it can happen to anybody under any circumstance. So we must not be ashamed, not be afraid to ask for help. And here's the thing, I would rather go get tested and find out that I'm good than to not be tested and really realize I'm not. How about that?
Yeah. And anyone who's watched me, when you spoke earlier, TJ, like I'm sitting here kind of chuckling to myself because I was like breathing a sigh of relief. I thought it was just me, because anyone who's seen me on YouTube and I've only been here a very short amount of time. Anyone who's seen me on YouTube has seen me do the exact thing you described with the short fuse. When someone comes to something that doesn't make sense or it's stupid, some kind of idiocy, it's like, you know what I'm saying? You have to, like, if anyone who's seen me on YouTube has seen me do that, and I'm just like, you said that, I'm like, thank God it's not just me, and other people can hear it, you know. And that's the one point I wanted to make. Number two, the letter your friend wrote to you, Bernard, about the child. Now, what really cooks your noodle is when you're in that situation, like your friend and I have been in. And in my case, I did what was necessary to make sure myself and my battle buddies got home safely, alive and in one piece to their families. How do you live with that? Next point. Yeah, that's what really cooks your noodle. What do you do with that part, you know? The other one is the triggering point. I can tell you one of my triggers right now, because I don't think I have just one. One of them is when we came back from a 3-year stretch in 2 different countries. Again, and war is very different depending on where you are and who's there, you know. But you see all your battle buddies and your teammates getting off the plane and their families there. They're hugging their wives, kissing their wives, hugging their kids and everything like that. And, you know, they get in their cars and they leave. And I'm standing there by myself. No family, no children, no girlfriend, no one. I had to get a ride from the first sergeant to my apartment. And the apartment was empty. So I went through all of that. Came home to no one. So then 13 days later, we're wheels up again, this time to South America. 3 different countries. Warfare very differently. Very different. It was like Game of Thrones mixed with Predator. The first one, when you see the guys in the jungle, it's like Game of Thrones mixed with that. Yes, in 3 different countries. When that was over, come back, no one. So I had to deal with all mine alone. And then what boils over in my mind is the person that I've become over there while I'm in theater. I will ask myself, is this okay, they say war changes you. I don't know. I like this shit too much. You know what I'm saying? So is this who I really am? Is this who I always been, or did it really change me? I don't know. Like, because how do you know? But how do you know that if that's not the person you've always been, but never knew it? You know what I'm saying? And is this a person that you want to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, or is it just a part of the human condition? Like, there's so many questions that come up and it bothers you. It really does.
Well, before Uncle Stu gets in, I know you're chomping at the bit. I can see you now. And also, Brother Bernard, here's the thing. I had to reconcile with myself that there's some answers I just may never get. There's some answer I just may never get, but what I need to do is right here, right now. I need to be healthy, whatever that looks like, and stop asking, because that is a problem in and of itself, because you're asking questions that you may never get the answers to. You may never get the answers to. That's all I got. Stu, what you got then, Bernard?
Well, I'm gonna say this. Mindfulness has become my best friend. I know you've heard that term. You know, living in the moment, and that's going to be the best answer I'm going to give you. Is right now, live in your moment. I know where you are. I know exactly where you are. I too came home to no one. My dad did not know what I've been through, nor did I know what my dad been through until about a year ago. You know, he didn't know. He knew of someone in the military. He knew about all that, but he didn't know what I was suffering from. You know, he was Air Force. You know, that's his picture standing behind me. So, certain conversations I won't have online because it's too complicated. But what I will tell you is let mindfulness be your best friend. Live in the moment. Live in the moment. There are some of us that learn how to do things and we mastered survival skills while we was there. And I don't know if you heard me say it earlier. They trained us well, but they never trained us on how to turn it off. That's
Right.
why there are certain programs that my dad would never, ever watch. I never understood it. My dad would love to watch army movies, cowboy movies. But then when certain movies that came out about Vietnam, he didn't touch it. I never understood it as a kid, but he wouldn't touch it. Same thing goes for me. There's certain movies that I watch, there's certain ones I will not, because I know it will trigger me. You know, I know what it would do. You know, so I don't want to necessarily say that by human nature I am something. Where I'm at right now, I've just reconciled and said I was trained to do something. And every day I got to recognize where I am in the moment. And that's why I say mindfulness has become my best friend. So when those thoughts come to my head, I got to go into mindfulness and sometimes pick up the telephone.
Right. Because the thing is, you take a person like myself, because I constantly self-evaluate, constantly, you know, and I hold myself accountable for everything that I do, constantly. And so I look at it and I'm like, okay, like you take a person like myself, I look at all of it, high IQ, right? Very high IQ. Also grew up very skilled in combat sports, you know, but then you take that person, and I was a happy-go-lucky kid my whole life, really good kid my whole life, happy-go-lucky kid with a devil-may-care attitude, just get into stuff, you know, but not trouble. But then you take this person, you train them, and then you bathe them in war. But then you take them out and say, okay, listen, you can't do that anymore. And now go out and do whatever. You put them back into society. Wait a minute. I mean, like, what am I supposed to, you know, what are you supposed to do? What next? I mean, how do you expect that to work?
Okay, hold up. I got to ask you this real quick, and then I'm gonna have to wrap up in a few minutes. But I want to ask you this, Mandrill. So, when did you get out? When did you retire from the military?
2008.
Okay, because the reason why I asked that is it takes. Well, I think you know that it takes at least a good 5 to 10 years to. How long were you in?
6 years. 6 years, yeah. Because right after that, I did 2 more security contracts over
Okay,
in Afghanistan. So
so to include that for the time you were in the military plus the contract, how many years was that?
8 years, yeah, just about 9 years, yeah.
And the reason why I say that because a lot of people, and this is not a conversation that is just focused on military only. It's about mental health.
Hmm.
But the reason why I'm bringing this up because again, I remember as a civilian, one of my jobs was helping military people when they got ready to get out of the military, whether it be retire or get out. I would help them with their transition. That was I was a program manager, and what I found, and I didn't even recognize it was happening to me. When people leave the military, it is not the job that's the hard part. It is the culture, it is the lifestyle, it is everything that is associated with the military. Because when you walk into a place with your uniform, people know who you are without even saying anything. Well, I didn't get the correlation of how difficult it was going to be for me. Why? Because when I left the military, my jobs after the military was still working for the Department of Defense. So I was still in that environment, still living. And it did not really hit me until my first job when I went to work for the Department of Homeland Security that had no ties to the military whatsoever. And that is one of the things that I think I started to have more challenges with my mental health because I was used to the structure of the military. Even as a civilian, I was used to it working as a civilian on military bases, then going into the civilian sector of the Department of Homeland Defense, I didn't fit there. Didn't fit, but my mindset was still there. So I felt I could not, I was not, it took me a while to get indoctrinated into this whole different environment. And then, so again, it's a constant process and a constant learning and relearning of ourselves
Mhm.
of ourselves. But I don't want, and again, I'm hearing you talk about your IQ and your analytical, and I understand that I'm not nearly analytical. I'm not even going to perpetrate a fraud like that. But I will say we can have the paralysis of analysis, which is still can be a mental health issue because that's obsessive compulsive behavior. I'm just
Hmm.
saying.
It is. It admittedly so. It is. And your story is it's eerie how similar our treks have been. Because after my 2 security contracts, I went to work for DoD, Department of Defense, and like it's just a couple of years during COVID. I was like, okay, listen, okay, I got a problem. I have a serious problem. I need to get this fixed. You know what I'm saying? And so I stopped working. I looked at my financial situation. I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. No problems here. Handed in a 4-week notice. Gave them a month's notice. They tried their best to keep me there, but I was like, nope, I got to go. And I put myself in therapy immediately, you know. And now that I'm out here, the transition from dealing with the structure to dealing with everyday people is not, you're right, it is not easy. I don't fit in. I don't feel accepted. Not that I've never cared about feeling accepted, but it's just like, where's my spot in all this? And it's hard. It's not as easy to navigate as I thought it would be. It's weird, and it's uncomfortable a lot of times.
It's okay. Brittany B said it the best. I don't think we can coin it any better. She says it is the structure people miss.
Because it makes sense.
We understand. Tell me what I got to do. Leave me alone, and we get it done. We're on a time sensitive. If right now, if TJ just being an officer, there's a way TJ can speak to me and everybody go, Dad, she's not. No, she's giving me what I need so I can move on with the mission. I don't need a long lecture. I don't need 5 hours of a communication. Tell me what I need. Let me go. That's how we've been conditioned. Give me the mission. How long do we have to complete this mission? We're going to complete this mission regardless of any obstacles that takes our way. What's the other thing we've all been taught? Suck it up, drive on. So we don't even feel the pain in the midst of the mission. We can be hurting, feet hurting, back hurting. We done got blood coming out our leg. We're going to complete the mission regardless. So you're still, what does El Guapo say? Mission focused, results driven. And that's what we are. When we don't see structure, we got to create it. And a lot of people don't understand. What are y'all doing? Yeah. When a 21-year-old who ain't never been in the military tell me, well, do you think you can handle what? Do you know who you talking to?
Well,
can
no,
I handle?
They don't. They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know, Uncle Stu. They really don't. They really don't know.
But I think the major thing is here, though. Again, I want to keep it right here because, like Bernard says, and Big Bad Bull says, war is war, and when it comes down to it, whether we're actually in the military having a war or it's a battlefield of the mind.
Right.
And knowing that, talking to Mandrill, because you have the paralysis of analysis, we got to refocus this, because regardless of whether you were in the military or not, we can still be obsessive compulsive because we can still, and again, it's robbing us of a life. It's robbing us of a life. It's robbing us of a life. So it's enough to acknowledge we have some issues. That's why we're here. But we're also working through those issues, connecting with the right people and talking and not being ashamed. Not being ashamed. Because again, I know Mandrell, you, Stu, I know me, listen. I was going to be the biggest and the baddest. When I had that uniform on, don't talk to me. You better put some respect on my name. To the man. But even if it's not in the military, if you are, like Bernard said, you say for whatever your profession and you decided that you were going to be the best at it, and then something happens, Naomi Judd, she said she lived for being on that stage. And now you can't do it no more. Who are you apart from that? You thought you knew until you didn't. You thought you knew until you didn't. And you got to find who you are. So I'm sharing, and we are all sharing because we've all been there. You hear Bolo. But here, you hear us on these platforms, you think, oh, we got it locked and cocked and ready to rock. Yes, we do, but not without some bruises along the way, honey.
You get burned out and don't know it. That's what I noticed. I was like, oh, okay, I got burned out and didn't know it. That's what that was.
I'm going to say this. If you ever hear me, if you ever hear I'm going to use us for the moment. If you ever hear me or you hear TJ tell you, drop that mic, drop that camera, get off of YouTube, pay attention. You pay attention. You don't know how many times, TJ, it's time to get off the YouTube. Time to go take a break. I've had to say it to TJ, go take a break. Go on a trip with your husband. There's a reason behind that. So knowing what I know about you, if you ever hear me go to Black Men Unfiltered and say, have a nice trip, go take a break. Just pay attention. Don't explain it to nobody. Just say, okay, if Uncle Stu told me take 3 days, I gotta take 3 days. Period. Because YouTube can be very draining. These people, as I have to always be reminded, these people don't know you. They don't know you. And I have to remind myself, they don't know you. They don't know your heart as
And
well.
I have to remind them too.
TJ does get in my comments when she sees you on Black Men Unfiltered. And
Right.
TJ, I do see your comments, and I do follow suit when I see them.
Yeah, because you got to realize these people. This is where I will separate the military. These people they've never really been through. So sometimes what you and I will say, man, this is petty. For other people, it's not petty. I forget that. But then I also got to recognize these people don't know me. So somebody can get up and challenge you in a way where it's like, you don't know me. I'm not the one to challenge. But they don't know that. And it's hard as hell to take the high road. It's hard. When you got to take a high road, it is very, very hard.
Because my first instinct is to eliminate the threat.
Exactly.
It's my first instinct.
Yeah. And that was mine too. But again, let me tell you something. This is it. Right now, this is it for real. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to go around for the last words. But Mandra, I get you. Not only would I eliminate the threat, and again, I would be in my masculine energy and I would meet you where you stood. I would meet you where you stood. I didn't care if you was a male or female. But see, that's a lot of pressure too. We're trying to keep it right here. But we're going to circle back because I want the reason for this show. And I thank Brother Bernard reaching out to me earlier today. Because we talked about a lot of the things, and I shared that I was going to talk about this today. But in closing, you can't tell what someone's dealing with from the outside. And just because it looks everything, it's not. And if it's not, that's okay. Don't stay there. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to have the answers. And let me tell you something. I pray and I take my medication. Okay. So with that, I'm gonna start with Mandrell Bolo, Stu, because I'm a time you, Stu, so I'm not gonna let you go last. And then I'm gonna let Bernard go last. Because see, I know how you go. So Mandrell, Bolo, Stu, then Bernard. Okay.
All right. Final thoughts. First of all, thank you for having me on your panel again, Auntie TJ. Very grateful, and it's a much well-needed subject to be talked about. It's not addressed enough, and when it is addressed, it's not in the proper fashion. The proper language isn't used. It's a bunch of nomenclature that people don't understand, so they still don't get anything from what people are trying to say. So addressing it this way to people, I think is far, far better, far superior. Okay. Also, everyone on the panel, please check the back chat for my contact information. Please lock me in. There's my email address and my phone number. Also, everyone in the chat if you know someone who suffers from mental illness, either from the military or just from life, please do your best to be patient and give them as little irritation as you possibly can. Because that doesn't help, and for the most part, don't try to fix it. Just listen to them. Ask them what's going on and just listen. You don't have to offer advice. Just let them get it off their chest. That helps far more than you realize. And on that, I'm done.
Okay, I'm gonna drop you down, Mandrell. Thank you for coming up, hon.
Thank you.
Bolo, it's you.
Okay, I mean, you guys covered a whole lot of stuff, so I just had to shut up. But the one thing I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna echo a little bit of what Mandrell said. That, when you're giving advice, a lot of the times we give advice from our perspective. And being empathetic and sympathetic is giving advice from the person's perspective that you're trying to help. Be patient, be understanding, and most of all, understand that we can all be in this situation one time or another, right? And be mindful of the people that you have around you. Be mindful of your surroundings. Be mindful of the people that you let pour into you. Be mindful of that. It's very important that you have these numbers. It's very important that you pick up the number and you call the person that you know is going to be there to talk you off that cliff. So on that note, I'm gonna say, Uncle Stu, you should have called me so we could have got a drink. I'm mad at you.
Now I was too busy running around. Yeah, I wasn't there for vacation, so yeah, I was doing a lot of running around.
Auntie, you know how I feel about you. Love you, Mr. Bernard. I'm a sub to your channel, and you'll be seeing me. You guys have a blessed night, and God bless you.
You too.
You too, sir.
Hey, Stu, it's on you.
All right, I'm gonna make it short. I just want to wish everybody the peace and the blessings that is needed. If you know you need help, seek it. And if you know that you got an issue, then go get the help. Don't start blaming everybody for your problems, for your issues. You need to go on and get the help. It's easy to sit here and blame people and say that people didn't do this for you and people didn't do that for you. That's not going to solve anything. Just go get the help that you claim you want, that you claim you need, that you claim you desire. Go get the help. Blaming everybody is not the solution. It's only going to perpetuate the problem. And on that note, that's it for me. And I'm already going to get on Bernard because I need one more video out of you, sir. I'm about to make some phone calls, so we're going to put you on lock. I need one more video out of you, sir. And Brittany, I love you. Thank you for all your love and your support that you gave while I was hanging out in New York. Thank you very much, Brittany. It's never forgotten.
All right, thank you, brother. You little brother, by 2 months. 2 months. 2 months.
All right, have a good night. Great stream.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, bring us home, Bernard.
Well, I wanted to man to man and to every woman. Y'all saw me drop my head when Mandrell said what he said. It's nothing like being alone, especially something after that, or something like a woman being at home after a bad situation, or that young girl or that young man that went through a bad situation when they were young. It's nothing worse than being alone after you've been through something. So my heart and my feelings go out to all of y'all in war, out of war, who had a different type of situation as a young child, if y'all know what I'm talking about. Loneliness is a whole nother subject by itself. Whole nother subject. Number 2, everybody y'all just saw on the panel, you can try that if you want to. My cousin just retired Special Forces, and he's going to retire next month. He's already got a vice president job. He did tours in Africa. He's like, hey, I'm going to Africa. I can't tell you where I'm going, but can you watch out for my wife? The reason why I'm saying that, guys, Special Forces or not, Sister TJ Randolph, anybody that was in the service, after whatever may happen to you because you mess with them, I promise you they're not doing no time. Play if you want. It's not a game. Uncle Sam's still gonna take care of their own. You don't know who and what you're dealing with when you deal with people who's been through this type of trauma. I promise you, they're not doing no time. You're gonna be GONE. Do not get it twisted up like a bad braid. Realize who you talking to.
Did you say a bad braid? You do it too much. Boy, you crazy.
A bad braid. A bad one. Okay? They need, I'm laying rules down that people don't understand about dealing with people that's been in the military. There are certain rules you just need to respect, young and old people or people of their age. They're not going to be doing no time because they got paperwork to follow them. You need to respect that. And you need to respect that you're walking around safe because of them, no matter what the job was in the military. So I would say this, and I always say this: I'm a servant to everybody, and I'm a leader when I need to be. That's who I am. And I never can be a leader because you should always be a servant first. So I stay a servant because it keeps me humble. And I respect people like this. And I respect people like Mandrill, Uncle Stu, TJ Randolph, and everybody in the chat who's been in the service. And people who have not been in the service. Let me tell you something. It's funny that Mandrill had did that because I already had found him on IG while we was talking. Said, "Hey, hit me up anytime." So this is what the connection is about. Like I told Sister Randolph earlier, this is real, what we call real life support from each other, not a machine. Life support from life to life, life to life. This is real life support. So this is why I make sure I look in the camera so you can understand what's coming out of my mouth and you can see my soul. I mean what I say, and I care about what I say. So, sis, I really thank you. I thank God for meeting you. I thank God for everybody I have met and I'm going to meet on YouTube because this is my type of work. This is going to be what I call my ministry. And if some of you can't get over the cussing, you'll be all right. It's part of life. We're just trying to help each other. Don't let your religion get you all caught up and lose out because somebody's cussing. It's part of frustration. So with that, much love to the chat. Much love to you, big sis. Thank you for being you. Thank you for the conversation, and thank you for sparking me to help me be a better me. I
Well,
yield.
thank you. And as my dad say, you'll be they'll be all right when the swelling go down. Far as, far as the
Yes.
cussing, you'll be all right when the
Yes.
swelling go down.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, hon.
All right.
Okay. Woo, this has been a really good conversation, and I thank everyone that participated on the panel and also in the chat. A couple of things, Uncle Stu said that, if you know you got a problem, get some help. But here's the thing: if you're not sure, but something ain't right, you just don't feel like yourself. Something you just can't, you feel off, you feel nervous, you feel you can't, because I'm gonna be honest with you. When this stuff started happening, it was before May. I'm like, am I having a problem cognitively because I kept forgetting stuff? I'm like, am I having early dementia? I mean, I was like, okay, what is going on with me? So I said, we got to do some tests. I got to find out. Unfortunately, it wasn't that, but again, something wasn't right. So if you're not sure, but you know that you just don't feel like yourself, go to your doctor. Say, something's going on with me. I need to know. Because it's better to do some tests and find out that you don't have a diagnosis than to not go to the doctor and find out and that you are having something that is untreated. Yes. This is an altar call. You show right, Brittany. This is an altar call. Because again, I pray. And then God has endowed people with the knowledge, skill, ability to assist. Because would you, if you're diabetic, I think let's say type 1, and well, I have a niece as a diabetic, type 1 diabetic, and she was diagnosed at 16. 16. At 16, realizing that she would have to give herself shots because if not, she would what? die. Okay? Same thing. Naomi Judd, mental health. They just said that mental illness took their mother. So I'm saying, you pray, and when you pray, you ask God to point you in the direction to get the assistance and the help you need. Brother Bernard said he respects all the people that are in the military, and I thank you all for that. I'm going to take it a step further. I respect people on the strength. Shout out to my auntie who would say, on the strength that you're an adult. Check it out. I respect those who respect themselves and respect me, because when I was an officer, I would talk to my troops and my boss would say, TJ, they need to do what you say because you're an officer and they're supposed to follow the orders of officers. I said, well, I understand that, and I thank you for that. However, ma'am, I talk to people and my troops on their strength that they're adults first. Because if I have to go to my rank to get you to act with some decency and respect, it's gone too far anyway. So with that said, I come to people genuine. I'm not perfect, flawed as all get out. But I'm genuine. I'm honest. When I mess up, I say I messed up. When I apologize. So I'm going to give you the consideration on the strength that I want the same done for me. But when you show me that it can't get down like that, duly noted. But I'm grateful for the people that I've come in contact with in these spaces, because I've been able to form real relationships that began on YouTube, but are being cultivated and nourished by what happens away from YouTube. And that's what it's about. Like my video. Like my niecey Pooh, Lucky Marie said, you better like my damn video. Like my video. Okay? So I thank y'all for joining me. I thank y'all for, being involved in the chat and on the panel. And again, if you know somebody, or hell, if it's you, it's not a weakness, honey. It's not a weakness. It's a weakness if you know something ain't right and you do nothing about it. Like I said, the turning point was when I saw the fear in my daughter's eyes, not knowing which mother she was going to come home to at any given day. She didn't deserve that. And I said, I will forever. If I don't take shit else, I'm going to take my medication, because I don't want my baby to be afraid of me. So with that, I thank y'all for tuning in. I thank y'all for sharing in this moment with me. And until next time.